This is my board game, Puzzle Paranoia. Here you can see all the assets for the game, 4-player characters, 4-player character cards, puzzles, but there's 3 of each, object, riddle, logic, make 'em talk, and punishments, but there's 1 of each. I've made some puzzles, they would be improved in the final version, but yeah. I've made a slider puzzle, one where you have to fit the image together, one where you have to fit all the shapes in the square, and then one where you have to pose the figure, which is written down in one of the object puzzles. This is the board. I have made some adaptations, so instead of just travelling from room to room, you earn 2 points by completing puzzles, which would be 2 movement. You earn 1 point for finishing a punishment, and if you refuse or you cannot finish a punishment, you move back to. Each room acts as a checkpoint, so when you get to here, but if you refuse a punishment and you have to move back to, you just stay still. You don't move back anymore, otherwise the game will last for too long. These character cards, wildcard, agent, scientist, jester, correspond with these homemade player pawns, where the magnifying glass fits with the agent magnifying glass. The wild card with the question mark fits with the question mark on the wild card. The jester has a clown face, again like that. And the scientist has the flask, which also fits with that. My game has some strategy and isn't relied on random. The only random is which card you'll pick up next. Otherwise the game would be too easy for people who know puzzles and those who don't. Each player has 1 immune to a puzzle, 1 immune to a punishment, so that if you pick up a puzzle and it says, I'm playing as a scientist and I pick up a logic puzzle, but I don't want to do it, I have 1 turn to be like, no, and redraw. If it's a different thing, then I can complete that or refuse and lose points. But if it's another logic, I have to do it because the immune only works once per turn. The same with the dare, the punishment. If you do the puzzle, you pick up a card and it's a dare. If you've already used your immune on the puzzle, then tough. This makes it more fair for everyone, because if you're good at puzzles, then you've got a lifeline, but if you're bad at puzzles, you have a chance to pick up something you're better at. My game, whoever has a disability in some way, or has gone through like something quite harsh and needs to pick me up, gets to pick first, or just no disabled player. This makes my game more accessible to people and more fun, because if you're playing with someone who can't move very well and they pick up a punishment where it's movement, then they should be able to reasonably pick the card which makes you immune to movement at least once, to make it more fun on everyone. And when you're playing a game, you normally say, it's fine, we'll let it go. This makes it official. My game would work by, you pick a character as 2 to 4 players, although you could play it as 1 if you wanted to time yourself on how fast you get round it. I've picked the wild card. Since I cannot move very well, I am showing how this actually works for players. I picked the wild card and say I'm versing against the jester. And then you get all your cards, you get your punishment, you put your punishments to one side, puzzle cards all in one. I only had them separate to show that there are 3 of each type, and then 1 of each type of punishments. Just shuffle it so you don't know what you're going to pick up. And then you get puzzle, riddle. Players tell you 2 truths and 1 lie. If you get at least 2 truths correct, you get 2 plus points. This can be adapted, so if there's 2 players, you just need to get the 1 right. And it has that for this puzzle, you can ask for a hint. So, since there's no other players here, it would be stuff like, I have seen Frozen 2, I have seen The Lion King, and I have seen Wreck-It Ralph. They would say something, like they would say that to you, and you have to know them. It's more of a friend sort of game. So, I would say something like, you have not seen Frozen 2, you have not seen Wreck-It Ralph, and you have seen Lion King. And they'd tell me if I was right or wrong. If I was wrong, no. I'd pick up a punishment because I failed. If I was right, I move forward 2. But because I'm wrong, pick up this, oh no, it's a movement card. The player in last place picks which exercise you do 5 of. This way, being in last place isn't the worst thing because you're still included. I, being the wild card, put down my card and say I refuse. There's also a little bit of character lore here to make it more interesting. Wild card. You don't know how you got here, why you're here, or how you're going to escape. Ooh, it's got an escape room for you. I put down the refuse and I draw again from the punishment. Embarrassment. The other players may ask you a theme, so like if it was tell me an embarrassing car story or something like that. Tell your best story you know and how you messed up. Car. Well, I don't have any card ones. If I did, I would say it, and then if they agreed that was embarrassing or stupid, then I would get 1 point to move forward. But because I do not, I have to move back 2. But because I am not anywhere, then, oh no, I stay there. This will continue until the first player gets to the end, which would be the centre square, made to look like a ditch so you escape. And the player who wins first place gets to pick 1 punishment for each player. So they get to pick up the cards, here you go Sarah, here you go Sasha, here you go Dean, and then they'd have to complete it. Because you've won and you deserve it. In this game, you don't only get bragging rights, but you get to make an actual difference in the gameplay. So yeah, that's Puzzle Paranoia. I've made some homemade stuff. I believe I've mentioned everything, and I have tried to make my game rely on randomness as little as possible, which is why I've made it so there are no dice. And it relies on logic, strategy, skill. There are some puzzles where you can cooperate with people and then split the prize. So if it's a riddle, you can ask someone for help, and if they get it right, you split. Instead of getting 2 points, you get 1 point each. If they get it wrong, you both have to do a punishment, and whoever refuses loses 2 points, and the punishment makes you stay still rather than move up 1. Only if it's cooperative. So yeah, you can throw people under the bus by refusing to help them, and then you can make the questions harder for them if you pick out something that they have seen, because it has to be fair, but make it something that they don't remember. So some of the cards will be like, sing me a song from this film. You have to make sure they've seen the film, but you can make it difficult if you want. So yeah, Puzzle Paranoia. Thanks for listening.